morning, everyone. Welcome to our January CGBN webinar. I hope you're all doing fantastic today. Before we begin, please note that this session is being recorded. To ensure a smooth experience, we kindly ask anyone who is not presenting or part of the panel to mute themselves and turn off the video recording. Our session today will run for an hour and a half. We'll start the presentations, followed by Q&A segment for each presenter. Once the Q&A concludes, we will end the recording and transition into our needs and wants segment done by Teresa Mueller. If you have listings or trade missions to share, please let us know. We'll be happy to feature them on the CGBN page. After today's session, the recording will be available on the CGBN YouTube channel and the CGBN page. In the meantime, please take a moment to share your information in the chat, including your name, phone number, email, and any needs or wants you'd like to address. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Dmitry Lockman, and I'm the current chair of CGBN. I also serve as the president-elect for NICAR. I'd like to take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to our past CGBN chairs, Ahmed Badat, Teresa Mueller, and Bill Caden. Bill Caden's not here, unfortunately, but thank you for the invaluable contribution and support. Thank you all for joining us today, and let's get started. Today's webinar is Why Illinois, the best place to do business. We have Catherine Fay joining us today. She is a business development director at Interstate, Illinois, with a background in urban planning consulting and commercial real estate. She has completed a fellowship with World Business Chicago, supporting the CASE initiative, and interned with the Trust for Public Land during the development of the Bloomingdale Trail, the 606. Catriona holds a BBA and a master's in urban planning, specializing in economic development and environmental planning from the University of Iowa. She's a Chicago native, and she lives in the city with her husband and 2 daughters. Tell you.
Thank you, Dimitro, and thank you to the CGBN community for inviting Interstate Illinois to this monthly webinar. I had the opportunity just before this call to speak a little bit more to Dimitro and understand more about your organization background, and I'm going to approach this presentation as a way to speak directly to you as brokers that represent both owners and buyers, tenants in the market, and hopefully arm you with some information that can help both with your existing portfolio of business, but also maybe some future business development efforts. So I love that you guys have a global reach with this community. As we said, a lot of the companies that we work with, it's not just a singular entity looking for a singular space. A lot of times there's a larger portfolio. So I think having a community like this is very beneficial. So as Dimitro mentioned, we are going to be covering a little bit I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Why Illinois? We good? Everyone can see? Okay, awesome. So as mentioned, I'm the Director of Business Development here at Interstate Illinois. We are just high level, the state's not-for-profit economic development organization. So our job is to bring new jobs and investment to the state. We work closely with other state entities like the Governor's Office, the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, utility partners, whoever is needed to help bring in that expertise, those answers, creativity on how we can continue to draw new business to Illinois. So we kind of like to categorize our role into 3 major buckets of, first and foremost, why Illinois, exactly why I'm here today, sharing our story and giving professionals like you the opportunity to better understand what's happening here within the state of Illinois, but how this can impact your clients, both current and future. We also are a partner of Team Illinois, so we collaborate, as I mentioned, with other partners in the state to efficiently and intentionally pursue new growth opportunities. So as I'll get into, we have our targeted industries that we're working with and just the many benefits that we align with to draw in new business to the state. And then finally, extremely relevant to you is site selection. So sites are our product. We cannot bring in new jobs, new investment to the state if we don't have anywhere to bring that investment and those jobs. So I'm going to talk a little bit more how we work with sites within our state, how we partner with the brokerage community as well. So we are here today because why Illinois? So from a very high level, Illinois stands pretty high up in several rankings. First and foremost, we are the #1 state in the Midwest for new business creation. When it comes to expansions and relocations throughout the U.S., Illinois has ranked second in that category for multiple years running, and we'll get into a little bit why we're seeing that interest in investment. We're one of the top states for tech innovation and access to capital. The Chicago area is a top metro for new and expanding companies. And finally, our infrastructure and education, which I'll also get into more detail, has one of the top ranked states for those as well. Because of some of these many benefits, we have several large companies that call Illinois home and that have their headquarters here. So I'm sure many of these logos are familiar to you, but what I want you to really take note of is just the diversity of industry. And we'll kind of see that come up a lot throughout this presentation. But as you can see, from foods to pharma, TDL, hospitality, tech, finance, Illinois has a very diverse portfolio of large corporate entities that call their headquarters home. We have 32 Fortune 500 companies, 58 Fortune 1000 companies. And just, I want to really take note at, we have over 2,000 foreign-owned companies here within Illinois. We like to consider Illinois a welcoming state, a very diverse, culturally diverse state as well. So what we see is a lot of foreign investment coming into the state because those companies are able to feel that they're finding their own niche here or seeing some cultural similarities, are having a global airport like O'Hare, one of the most globally connected airports. A lot of those companies like to locate here because they can get home quickly too, if need be. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but diversity across industry is kind of one of the main points we want to stress here. Another thing that we do like to emphasize is Illinois' strong fiscal standing. So throughout the past 5 years, Illinois has had 9 credit rating upgrades. In the last 6 years, we've had 6 balanced budgets and prioritizing getting our bills paid on time. Because of this, we've been able to focus more on our economic development efforts because we now have this foundationally strong fiscal stronghold footing throughout the state. So another thing to focus on here is when it comes to GDP, Illinois has the 18th largest economy in the world. So here in the U.S., we have the 5th largest GDP. We're one of only 5 states that can say that we have over $1 trillion in those gross domestic product, but that makes us the 18th largest economy in the world. So if we were our own country, Illinois would be the 18th highest. Because of our financial stability, we've been able to put together a more focused economic development strategy. And this strategy focuses on future industries while taking into account what Illinois already has going for it. So every 5 years, the state rolls out its 5-year economic plan. Within that plan, it identifies key industries that the state's just well suited for, whether is along the lines of existing businesses that are here, workforce, where that legislation, incentive, support is going. And what we are seeing now is our current fiscal year 5-year plan that we're working from that was recently adopted in July of 2024. We've seen a shift in some of those industries. While while also maintaining some of those legacy industries as well. So life sciences, Demetria, I know we talked a little bit about this before. This is still a key industry that Illinois is focusing on. Quantum computing and AI, this is one of the newer ones that was recently adopted in this latest plan. I'll talk a little bit more about what's happening in that industry in particular. Clean energy production. This is something on a global level that's important, but here in Illinois has taken strides to be a little bit more progressive compared to some other states, not only in the Midwest, but throughout the country, to put in just some goals and plans as we transition to a clean energy future, advanced manufacturing, next-gen ag. A lot of times when people think of Illinois, it's easy to think of Chicago, a large metro area. But Illinois has got a lot of farmland. We have a lot of great soil. We are home to some large agricultural companies. And with that, we have a very active foods industry as well. And then finally, TDL. We're at the center of it all. So as we'll get into throughout the presentation, Illinois' infrastructure coupled with its geographic location has also really set the state up to be a strong option for investment. As I mentioned, with this economic development strategy, we are also aligning it with the incentives that the state offers. So Intersect Illinois is the state's economic development organization. We partner with DCEO, the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, who manages the incentives programs and the different resources that companies can take advantage of to grow their business here in Illinois. Some of those programs are our EDGE program, Invest in Illinois Fund. We have the Micro Act, the High Impact Business Program, and other small business assistance. I can chat a little bit more about those. But once again, just kind of, we always like to just reinforce that we are the marketing arm. DCEO manages those incentives. But we can put you in touch with DCEO. And a lot of times we do have brokers that come to us with a project that maybe the company is looking for some additional support. Maybe there's a road that needs to be built out or extending a rail spur, something like that. And they want to understand what sort of support and funding is available. And during situations like that, we're able to bring in a DCEO rep for whatever region that they're looking at to kind of walk your client through some of those opportunities. So as we talk more about why Illinois, we also have to talk more about the qualitative overall quality of life benefits of being here. So Illinois continually ranks as one of the top states to raise a family. We have the third in median family income, but 13th in affordability. So that allows families flexibility in where they choose to live throughout the state. Chicago continues to be recognized as the best big city in the U.S. for the 8th consecutive year by Condé Nast Traveler. It's truly a global world-class city when it comes to the amenities, cultural opportunities, and just world-class experiences that people can have here. We are a state about our sports. Can't say we're doing too well in some of our sports right now, but it's there, our major sports teams. And then something that doesn't get often discussed is just how much of a leader Illinois is when it comes to healthcare. So we have over 60 hospitals, teaching hospitals throughout the state, and 8 nationally accredited medical schools. So this is something that we have seen as our life science industry grows. A lot of that filters into our communities and that care that residents are able to receive here. When it comes to education, Illinois it's up there. So we always like to say from a workforce perspective, we have a readily available skilled workforce, that workforce is also really smart. So in Illinois, over 3 million Illinoisans have at least a bachelor's degree or higher. This is number one in the Midwest as we look at our neighboring states. We have the third largest community college system in the country. We love to talk about our community colleges. When we have site visits, companies coming in to look at sites in Illinois, if there is any need for workforce training, we have our community colleges at the table, able to talk about how they can partner with these companies to build out a tailored workforce program and training program that the college can administer and basically create that incoming pipeline of workers. So we like to use our community colleges as a partner in our economic development efforts to basically allow those companies to know that their workforce needs will be met here in Illinois. Another thing is when we think of Illinois, University of Illinois it's truly a globally renowned engineering school. So the University of Illinois graduates more engineers each year than MIT, Stanford, and Caltech combined. So those are the next three largest engineering schools. What we find, a lot of those engineers that are coming out of U of I, they like to stay in Illinois. They want to stay and work for our larger manufacturers, tech companies that are also here. I touched a little bit on infrastructure in my opening, but being at the center of it all, geographically, Illinois also has the TDL infrastructure to help companies move product, people with ease. So Illinois is a top state when it comes to infrastructure. What a lot of people don't know is that we are number one in the Midwest for inland waterways. So two of the major inland ports are here in Illinois. The largest inland port in North America, you might be familiar with it, in Joliet, but also by roadway. So our interstate highway system, we have the third largest interstate highway system in the country. Class 1 rail lines, we are the only state that has all 6 Class 1 rail lines. And those Class 1 rail lines intersect not just once, but twice within the state. So no other state has all 6, but we not only have 6, but they're intersecting twice in the Chicagoland area and down in the East St. Louis metro area. And then finally, by air, I'm sure you're all probably familiar with O'Hare International Airport, one of the most globally connected airports in the world, but is number one domestically for connectivity. So once again, whether companies need to move product, need to move people, Illinois has the infrastructure to do so efficiently. I mentioned the interstate highway system and being the third most connected. I love this map. From Illinois, you are able to reach the full country in a 3-day drive time, but 83% of that population can be met in just 2 days from Illinois. And you'll see as we map out those major interstate roadways on the map, just how concentrated they are here in Illinois, so that north, south, east, west, companies have that opportunity to utilize ground transportation to move products. So we just rank behind the northeast, where it's just a little more denser population-wise, but we're able to get there in 2 days from Illinois. As we think about businesses looking towards the future, companies adopting their own sustainability goals, a lot of these companies are looking to Illinois because Illinois is a leader in sustainable development. We're number one in the Midwest and number 7 in the U.S. when it comes to overall sustainable development, commitment to sustainability, enacting our own state goals to reach. Right now, we are following our Clean Energy and Jobs Act, our CEJA Act, which was adopted and has the overall goal of Illinois transitioning to 100% renewable energy by by 2050. And we are moving towards that. We are number one when it comes to overall nuclear energy produced. So what a lot of people don't know is that Illinois has always had a larger amount of clean energy on our grid because of our nuclear footprint. We have the number 2 most reliable electric grid in the country. You might be familiar with ComEd. ComEd is one of our key partners that when it comes to, these big energy power projects, we were speaking just before this call, data centers, manufacturing projects. As we see, this EV ecosystem growing, our battery projects are also just higher power users. We like to have our state's utility partners at the table for those discussions. When it comes to new development, having our LEED standards, a lot of the incentives that DCEO is managing also have just some stipulations on new construction or retrofitting to include some of these green building standards. And it's not just LEED. One thing I think that does come up, there is a whole list of different sustainable development programs that these companies can follow. So it's not necessarily just LEED, but we find that that's one seems to be the most popular. And then finally, we're training our workforce for this clean energy future. So once again, partnering with our community colleges, existing businesses on understanding what are those skills needed so that our very strong workforce that's already in place, we're up-leveling those skills to meet the needs of the future industries. So with all these benefits, what are we starting to see here in Illinois? We're seeing a lot of good momentum. So just in fiscal year 2024, 440 business projects expanded or relocated to Illinois, and this was up 15% from the previous year. Here at Intersect Illinois, we closed 7 projects in that fiscal year with totaling 2,700 jobs and over $2 billion in investment. But we also have a really big pipeline of other projects that are still moving forward. We just saw immense growth in our overall projects worked, and those target industries and that we're starting to see more of that momentum. Definitely a lot of EV projects and clean energy projects, but also manufacturing and agribusiness. And I will also say I'd probably throw data centers just as well, starting to really speed up the amount of projects that we're seeing there. Some examples of these projects you may or may not be familiar with: SciQuantum, our quantum campus that is currently under planning and development at the former Southworks Steel site on the south side of Chicago. SciQuantum chose Illinois and Chicago for its location and will be the anchor tenant of this quantum campus. Goshen was a large battery project that is located in Manteno, Illinois. Just a large, high volume jobs, good paying jobs. Primient chose Decatur, Illinois for its food and ingredient production facility. Really large investment that'll be over the next 5 years. And then Wayland and East Alton also just announced this additional investment to increase production on some of its components that are serving these industries of the future. So when we talk industries of the future and our key industries that we've adopted in this most recent 5-year economic plan, you might have questions around, specifically, what these industries entail, examples of companies. So I just wanted to highlight all 6 of those industries that I previously discussed. Number one, clean energy production and manufacturing. This aligns with some of the legislation that the state has adopted around the CJ Act that I previously mentioned. But the state is actively going after funding for projects in this industry. So we're the number one state in the Midwest when it comes to DOE funding, but also recently announced last year is Illinois is a partner in the $1 billion Mach H2 hydrogen hub. So we are starting to see a lot of hydrogen projects coming into the state. And then we're a national leader when it comes to carbon capture legislation. We are committed to decreasing that carbon footprint and doing so, across different sectors and through different ways. Life sciences. So this is something that, as mentioned, healthcare, life sciences has just grown immensely here in Illinois. Lake County has become basically a life science hub just north of Chicago. We're seeing a lot of companies locating there, but Illinois is home to over 15,000 life science companies. And what I think has helped propel that is that these companies are able to connect and find support across their ecosystem through the various research institutions here, other partners that are locating here. Illinois was chosen for most recently for the Chan Zuckerberg Bio Hub. So this was something they competed nationally for, and that hub is located in the Fulton Market area in Chicago. But we're seeing a lot of investment in the state. So Illinois is number one in the Midwest when it comes to VC investment for this industry. I touched a little bit on the quantum campus and this newer industry to our 5-year plan. There is just so much happening here. This is a industry that is very dynamic. We're seeing global interest in quantum AI and microelectronics here in Illinois. And a lot of this, once again, can be because of this connectivity and additional support through our world-class research institutions, but also Illinois is home to 2 national labs. Argonne National Lab and Fermi Lab are here in the state and also key partners on these projects. Agribusiness. So once again, a lot of people don't think of Illinois for its farmland and agriculture, but we are a leader here in the U.S. when it comes to foods, ingredients, and next-gen ag. So we're home to ADM, Premium, I had mentioned, Ingredion, but, Illinois is not only home to these companies, but we're continually investing in creating this ecosystem, bringing in the right partners. And because of that, I'm not sure if you've heard of the IFAB hub, but this was a huge win for the state down in Champaign, central Illinois, where we now have a concerted effort to draw in, build out the workforce for, find the sites for these larger and next-gen food companies to expand, but also grow and have the resources, the workforce, and the support to do so. Advanced manufacturing. Illinois has always been known as a manufacturing state. It's a legacy industry, so to say, for us. But what we're seeing is that the state has been able, and the state partners have been able, to move into more of advanced manufacturing and meeting the needs of these future industries, up-leveling our workforce, partnering with our universities, community colleges, making sure that we're staying top ranked when it comes to having the people able to work these projects, fill these jobs for these larger manufacturing projects. As mentioned, I'm sure a lot of these logos, Ford, our legacy companies, Ford, Deere, Continental, Caterpillar, that have been in Illinois, seeing these companies evolve, the state has evolved with them. And that's going to continue to be a priority and where we put our focus in the future years. And then finally, TDL. As mentioned, this is something, once again, a legacy industry, Illinois' location, existing infrastructure just lends itself to be a leader. But just overall, in terms of some of those rankings, we're number 4 when it comes to the warehousing transportation. I will say for cold storage, in particular, Illinois is, in the Chicago area in particular, a global hub for cold storage. So when you're moving products internationally, a lot of those products are coming through Illinois, and we have the infrastructure to do so. So as mentioned, our sites are a product. So as we're looking at all these industries and doing our best effort to market the state, connect with companies, brokers, site selectors, and sharing the story on why Illinois, we need to have some sites. We need to have a place for these companies to go and grow. So this is where connecting with an organization like CGBN is important to us. Because we want to know about your sites and we want you to know about our sites. So here at Intersect Illinois, we actually maintain a database of sites throughout the state. We currently have over 1,600 total sites on our database right now. It's constantly being updated, but this is a mix of greenfield, brownfield, existing buildings. A lot of these sites come to us through our local EDO partners. We also use CoStar. So a lot of the times we are reaching out to brokers about sites. And then we also run very tailored searches for companies where we're partnering with local economic developers to identify off-market opportunities or maybe publicly owned land that could work out. So we have a lot of brokers coming to us to see, hey, is there something we're missing? And vice versa, we're going to brokers asking them, hey, is there something we're missing? And we want to know what sites are here in Illinois. And we like to partner with the brokerage community to do so. Another way we are focused on identifying sites for future investment is our vetted sites program. So the vetted sites program are sites identified by Intersect as top sites in Illinois based on 8 characteristics: the acreage, utilities, logistics, permitting, workforce, ownership, and then the incentives and site conditions. Our goal for this is that by collecting this information, we can speed up that decision. What we're seeing is companies coming to us, speed to market being very important. So if we could be proactive in aggregating this information, connecting with utility partners in advance, the local community, to understand holistically everything about a site, we can then share that information with brokers, site selectors, corporate real estate executives to say, hey, this could be an option, and they're able to have that information readily available. So we currently have 35 sites that are vetted sites that are actively being marketed on our vetted sites page and through other marketing channels that I'll chat a little bit more about. But we are growing. We are actively growing this program. We hope by the end of this current fiscal year to see that number over 60. So a couple things that we do for the vetted sites: we evaluate these sites at no cost. I should say all of our services are at no cost. We are a not-for-profit. Our goal is to bring jobs and investment. I do know we work with a lot of brokers, and that question does come up, how we're paid, especially brokers that are thinking about that fee, split fees, different things like that. You keep your fees. We just want to make sure you have all of the information you need on why Illinois and sites in Illinois. For the vetted sites program, we engage those partners early and often. So think utility partners, rail partners. What is that timeline to get to a certain amount of power? What is that timeline to build out that rail spur to a site? What are the costs associated with it? We have all that together, so that can be analyzed and evaluated by a company. This helps streamline submissions, and it also allows communities to understand where there's opportunities for investment. With that, they're able to create a plan around sites, show their interest in developing the sites, bringing industry to a site, and they're able to take that and then apply for grant funding. So we have seen sites that are part of our vetted sites program receive additional funding because they're putting in this extra level of effort into bringing investment to that site. Some of the marketing benefits of the sites that are included, we have a marketing and comms team that are blasting out these sites. We want people to know about our vetted sites. So through our own planning database, where we have our sites listed, all of our vetted sites have a specific badge. They are prioritized in search results, but we are also promoting these sites on LinkedIn, through CoreNet, through blogs, editorial opportunities. We're also bringing one-pagers of these sites to events that we're attending, and then also for our site selector events. We are sharing this information with site selectors from across the country that are working with the various companies in the market. The results of our vetted sites program from a marketing standpoint, just some numbers here, but on LinkedIn alone, we've had over 10 million impressions and almost 50,000 clicks from C-suite and senior level executives that these sites are being marketed to. Through CoreNet, we did a email newsletter campaign where those sites were also included, and also received almost 2 million impressions, but 2,300 clicks on those ads. And this is continuous. This is ongoing. We are switching through the different sites. So something to think about if you do represent any owners throughout the state that you think the site might be a good fit for our vetted sites program. We would love to chat more about that. So I'm happy to connect with anyone after the webinar on that. But with that, we do look forward to working with both our owners reps and those tenant or corporate clients on finding a site in Illinois for growing their business. I think with that, we'll do the Q&A.
Perfect. Thank you for that. This is actually very amazing. So I appreciate that. One of the questions that I had is, how does Intersect Illinois combat negative misconceptions about doing business or living in Illinois in general?
So yeah, I feel like instead of combat, we like to highlight that Illinois residents enjoy a high quality of life in a family-friendly environment. Illinois offers an exceptional quality of life. With, as I mentioned, Chicago's been recognized as, the best big city in the U.S. for 8 consecutive years now. The state overall, it's ranking 3rd for the median family income, but 13th in affordability. So it's giving people just some of that wiggle room, financially, that can improve quality of life, to be able to do more. I also think education is something that doesn't get highlighted enough, and what's happening here. So Illinois is ranked 4th in the country when it comes to college readiness, but also number 7 when it comes to pre-K to 12 education. So it's just a really attractive place for families, but it's also an attractive place for businesses. So businesses, they want to locate somewhere that their employees want to be, but Illinois also boasts this top tier business environment. As I mentioned, being 2nd in the country for business expansions and relocations. Illinois is there for a reason. Just it's by no accident. We prioritize our industries that have high growth potential. The state's economic stability now has allowed us to put more effort into the economic development programs and support. But also going back to that slide with all the logos, we just have tremendous diversity in industry, but also in our people and infrastructure. So we always like to say, from young professionals to industry veterans, Fortune 500s to startups, Illinois offers a high quality business environment in all corners of the state. So I would say less combating and more promoting the benefits of why.
Thank you. Teresa, Bill, and then Ahmed.
Okay,
Teresa?
well, I have 1,000 questions, but I won't ask all of them. I'll re-raise my hand after them. Thank you very much. That was very informative. I took lots of screenshots and we'll be sharing them after, and I'm assuming we'll get the slides. The quick one is, in terms of question, every time I go somewhere, I like to quote that statistic because we are a logistics hub. That's something that I'm always selling Illinois and Chicago on as being we're the largest fresh body of water. We're a logistics hub in addition to all the things that you're saying. But you said we're 2 days away from 83% of the population. What is it the 1 day away? That's my first question. And then you typically have success stories. So I'd like to know a little bit about, like, when I've been to previous Intersect Illinois discussions, they talk about, hey, this company went down to Texas or wherever, and then they found out, oh my God, I can't get product to where I need it to. So adding that as success stories to say, see how great we are as a logistics hub, that was like both a question / marketing plan to do that.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And yes, we do like to amplify those stories when people maybe left Illinois and then realized that it's not the dream they thought, elsewhere, and realized at the end of the day just how much value is here in being, not only from the TDL perspective, but what we're seeing is, and I said it a lot, but our workforce is amazing here. Our support and resources for our workforce are second to none. This is something, Illinois is number one in the Midwest when it comes to workforce development. It's something we are constantly investing in, and looking to evolve and keep growing with what's happening in different industries. So what we're seeing is not only, companies that maybe from a logistics standpoint, not realizing just how great Illinois was, but also from a people standpoint, that a lot of times they're spending, all this money they thought they were saving by going somewhere to free land and whatever, lower taxes or something. But those costs are showing up elsewhere. And we've seen it's coming up in, moving product or training people, having to retrain people and rehire, so as much as, the logistics has been something, we've also found that people come back for our people as well. And then I think your first question was how much of the country can be met in that 1 day drive. I don't have that offhand. I know my colleague Anna's on. She might have be able.
I remember it was something like 50% was 1 day away. And then, like you said, 83% is 2 days away, something like that, right?
Yeah. And I think abbreviated deck, we just kind of put the 80 because it's almost the whole country for the 2 days. But let me see if we can pull that 1 day drive number and share that with the group before.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bill?
Yes, thank you again. And having, like Teresa, seen several of these presentations over the years from Intersect Illinois, I appreciate, the fact that you've updated us on that. The question I have is related to traveling to MIPIM. There are several people on here that are going to MIPIM in France, next year. And
Here.
Yes, Illinois Realtors actually had a meeting, okay, specifically for those people. There's probably going to be, I'm going to guess, and Teresa, you can correct me, 10 to 12 people from Illinois going there. I was wondering if there's some distilled down presentation that we could use for foreign investors to, we've got this map of Illinois, which they've taken there, the cutout, okay, with all the statistics on it. I don't know if that's been updated, but something that we could put in the hands of it. I have an industrial investor that I was in, millimeters away from getting to Illinois to invest $10 million in a site. And he went to Florida instead. Okay, he was told that the Midwest is cold, and he was attracted away, and I couldn't stop that. So anything that you could boil down that we could use, okay, MIPIM's the second week in March from the 10th to the 14th. We could distribute to all the people going, okay, and have at our, we don't have a booth, but at least having at the pavilion would be helpful. So that's the first question. The second one is, thinking of my inventory, I have several sites I think that would appeal to a wide range of investors internationally and domestic. How do we get those listed with you?
Mm-hmm. So a couple ways. I can connect with you. We can talk about the sites, and then I can go to the local EDO in that community. Or I don't know about your current connection or relationship with the economic development group, where those sites are located. We're always telling our economic developers partners to get to know your brokers, get to know they're going to have the most information about those sites. They're going to be able to get that information for you pretty quickly. So I don't know if you're not already connected with them, that might be a great opportunity to be like, hey, I just heard from Intersect and their vetted sites program and their database. I would love to get these sites on there. And it could just be a nice kind of opening up the door to build that relationship with the local EDO, because at the end of the day, if a company's interested, we're going to want you at the table. We're going to want the EDO at the table, everyone involved. So I would leave that up to you on how you would want to, approach getting the site on our database. But we, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that part of our work is making sure that there's community buy-in, that hurdle, and that's what we've also seen has helped that speed to market. So there's nothing worse when a company is like, we really like this site, this is great, and they get down the road and the community is like, oh no, we have not asked for that, but how instead can we build that relationship beforehand, so then when those opportunities come in, we already have a team assembled, everyone's on board. So I love that idea, Bill, and I would leave that up to you on how you would prefer to navigate that, but happy to assist. Either way, if you want us to go to the EDO and present the site, or if you want to introduce yourself, however that might be. And then back to your question about having some materials about why Illinois, I love that idea. Part of me being here and a lot of the, appearances, webinar, different things that our team is doing with brokers in the real estate community is for this reason. You guys are, just as much of an important part of Team Illinois as everyone on Intersect Illinois. So we want you to be able to have those tools and resources to tell the story as well. So I can bring that back to our marketing and comms team and see if there's something that we can do that, can maybe even just be something downloadable from our website that has the most up-to-date information that you can share, because we don't want those companies going to Florida.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yes, I've been an investor in the Will County EDC. Doug, of course, is the CEO down there. So I'm well connected there and with most of my local community. So you just reinforced that I need to strengthen, my connection to them again. And I appreciate it. We'll probably talk offline then and see what you can provide us for MIPIM. Okay.
Absolutely. And then is that 2025, March
That's
2025?
2025, yeah, March 10th through the 14th, okay?
Awesome.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you. Ahmed and then Dr. Mustafa.
Yeah, thank you. Excellent presentation. It was worth for us working on this, getting you guys for the last year. And thank you very much. So, quick question. And you probably have been looking at this issue coming up. We've seen the tariffs on China and the impact it had on the agricultural sector in Illinois, soybean and corn. Are you looking at that, what the impact could be again, number one? Number two, also the impact of mass deportation and the meat processing industry, because by and large, the labor force is made up of immigrants working in the meat processing plants in Illinois. So just want to get your take on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say, per your first question regarding the tariffs, it is something we are monitoring, working with, not only the companies here, but, our local business organizations as well that are resources for those companies. Temperature wise, what we're feeling and where, we think that's going to go. We are kind of we're standing by, we're ready to support our businesses on, how they need to be supported. What we're seeing is a lot of international investment wanting to get their U.S. operations in place up and to be producing domestically. I think there's more, it seems to be a lot of projects that were in the pipeline that are maybe experiencing just a little bit more pressure to establish that U.S. entity partner. But right now, I feel like we're still kind of early in, what exactly it's going to look like. But it is something that's on our radar that we're actively, tracking and have, let our companies and the projects that we're working know that, we're here as a resource. And we'll do what we can that with what's in our ability that we can. With the deportation and the meat packing, I know I'm not, once again, another thing, still early just with this, just happening this weekend. So another thing, we have to track, we'll be working with our workforce organizations. And yeah, I think still very similar with the tariffs. I think we're still kind of early on in this change of administration and to, fully see, what the impact will be.
Thank you.
Perfect. Dr. Mustafa? Yeah, you're muted.
You're muted.
Or just muted yourself. See, Kathy, if you can maybe.
Okay, am I here now? You got me now?
There you go. Yeah.
By the way, my name is Mustafa.
Apologies. Stop.
Okay. I want to ask if all the information that you just gave, can you provide that information to me, or you have a staff person? My 100% memory is not as 100% no more. So I need to get all that information that you've given in your presentation. And the second thing is, do you provide or have somebody to advise small villages on the services that you can provide to help them in their economic development?
Yeah, so first, I believe we can share this deck and send that out. I'll have my contact information, so if there's any follow-up information from what was shared, you can get that. And then, yes, so one of the things that we want to make sure of as our organization, so where Intersect sits is we're kind of in the middle of this, hub of local communities, site selectors and companies looking for a location, the state, utilities, and we serve as that connector. And what we find is that not every community has the resources, the budget to have, this robust economic development arm that can respond to RFIs that come in, that can be marketing their community and doing all this. So what we try to do as an organization is create this outlet for maybe some of those communities that don't have all those resources to be able to post their sites, still participate in those RFIs, but also be a resource if there, something comes up. Because some of these communities, we have one person that's wearing 8 different hats, and we might need a certain amount of information in a short amount of time. And that's why we're trying to put in place some of these proactive programs like vetted sites that, before, the project is here and looking at a site and all of a sudden we need stuff and they don't have the capacity to do so. We want to make sure that we can work with them before those projects come in so that we can get, an inventory of the sites that are there, see what resources, talk through, any sort of planning assistance, industry focus, and just understanding. So we definitely can help guide those communities, and we want to be that resource for them as well.
So should they contact you or somebody else in your organization?
So they can come to I'm going to give my contact information, and then I can move requests as needed. But I can be like, from this call, if there's any follow-ups, feel free to send them my way, and we'll get them to the right person.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking that.
Teresa, to finish it off, and then we'll go into the needs and wants.
Sure. So the last 2 questions are related to Bill's about the site selection. This is something that first question, that we can all go on and see what the site locations are. So tell us a little bit about that. And then if you can let us know when you're again presenting something similar to this presentation, and anyone is welcome to attend. It would be great for people to know who missed this presentation.
Yeah, so I would say for number one, to access our site database and the sites that we're marketing, you can go to intersectillinois.org. And from there, the resources, there's find a site. There's another tab for our vetted sites program, so you can see that full list of where our vetted sites are right now. And you'll be able to see just the amount of information that we have readily available, what those one-pagers, you can download the one-pagers. So if you do have a company that might be looking for a location, please check out our vetted sites page. Reach out if you need any additional information. But our database, it's interactive. You can move around different parts of the state, and as you click on each one, any documents that have been uploaded for that site, you can pull up there as well. And for many of them, especially all of the vetted sites, but for many of our sites in our database too, sometimes you'll see key industries that those sites are most suitable for. And that's that local EDO saying, hey, based on our planning, our goals, this is a location that would be ideal for that. So I think for brokers, that could be really helpful and cut out, at least a couple emails, phone call, that amount of time to get some of that information. So that, and then...
Is there a minimum size, by the way, for sites?
For our vetted sites program? Yeah, so our database is all different sizes, existing buildings, brownfields, greenfields. The vetted sites program is focused on larger land sites. Originally, we were looking at sites that were 250 acres and above. We last year lowered that to 150 acres and above. So that's right now what we're looking at for the program. If that is going to change, I'm not sure. But 150 seems to be a good amount based on the amount of sites that we've been able to compile. And a lot, what you'll see is a lot of these sites, CN has their own shovel ready sites program. There's a lot of overlap in what we're marketing as our vetted sites and what they're, considering their shovel ready sites. ComEd has kind of their high power sites. So what we've done is kind of aggregated what's happening at rail, power, highway, just taking all that into account and now being able to put together, hey, this is the state saying we have these sites, they're this size, these are the key industries that are ideal. We're trying to just make it more efficient so that site selectors, brokers, corporate real estate execs, they're not having to go through all these different resources and calls. We just want to be a central source for that information. Yep. And then for future events, I would say our LinkedIn page, we have an amazing marketing and comms team that are constantly updating our LinkedIn page on when appearances are, presentations, different things like that. So I would say following Intersect Illinois on LinkedIn, we are also sharing just a lot of news and announcements so that if you are a very active Illinois broker, it's just some really great content for sharing, engaging in, and then and we want to hear also about, your wins and successes. I think part of Dimitro's comment when he said, how do we combat, anything negative about Illinois? And we try not to combat, but we just like to amplify all the good. So we like to have our partners letting us know because we don't catch everything. So even, from your experience in projects, we want to hear those wins and announcements.
Great. Thank you. Sorry, Teresa, before we get into that, I might have one more and then we'll go into the needs and wants.
Yeah, very, very quickly. What is Chicago's metropolitan contribution to the GDP of Illinois? I would imagine most of it is probably Chicago metropolitan, right?
I'd imagine. I don't have specific numbers, but Chicago itself is a global force.
Right.
And, historically and, when it comes to products moving through by rail, 50% of those products being moved by rail have to go through Chicago from coast to coast. So Chicago sees a lot of just the country's overall GDP. So I'd imagine, there's probably, it probably leans higher towards the Chicago metro.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Teresa?
Oh, Bill.
Or Bill, sorry.
We kind of look alike.
Yes, I'm almost as pretty as she is. All right. Real quickly, what's your best contact email and telephone number?
I'll drop that in the chat.
Okay.
So you guys have that. Yeah.
I did put in the LinkedIn Connect and I followed it right away. And it has great content even there.
Yeah.
And Dimitro and Kathy has all the contact info also. So
We'll share that with, but if you can put that in the, thank you for putting that in some chat. Okay. Let's get into the needs and wants. Teresa?